Rio de Janeiro. As Venezuela teeters on the brink of default, its fate may ultimately depend on whether China and Russia continue to provide support as a way to counter the U.S.At meeting with creditors on Monday. Venezuelan Vice President Tareck Aissami said desperate. In addition to suffering from economic sanctions imposed by the U.S., his country is being forced out of financial systems, he told some 100 mostly American and European institutional investors. The meeting was supposed to be a chance for the cash-strapped country to ask for debt restructuring. But with many creditors absent, no specific plans were proposed by the government and there was no substantive discussion. The meeting effectively failed. Bad bonds. Following the collapse of talks, S&P Global Ratings downgraded the country's foreign currency-denominated, long-term sovereign credit rating to selective default, or partially default. Fitch Ratings also downgraded bonds issued by Petróleos de Venezuela, the state-run oil company known as PDVSA, to a similar grade. The downgrades make it difficult for Venezuela to raise capital from foreign investors. The government has been limping along by issuing bonds to raise capital for day-to-day operations while making interest payments and redeeming bonds with foreign currency from oil sales. But the precarious U.S.At seems to have reached its limits. The government, led by President Nicolas Maduro, has been criticized by the international community for its dictatorial approach, including silencing opposition. Unlike Greece, turning to the International Monetary Fund or similar global entities for aid is not an option for Venezuela. Oil no help. Venezuela has one of the world's largest crude oil reserves. But oil prices have been low for years, and the government's external debt has soared to an estimated $130 billion. Government bonds and PDVSA bonds are particularly worrying. They collectively total more than $60 billion, and interest payments have been a heavy burden. For the government, however, meeting interest obligations is apparently more important than stopping its citizens from starving to death or fleeing the country. This is because default would result in immediate seizure of Venezuela's overseas oil refineries and tankers, which in turn would strip the country of the means to earn foreign currency. Since coming to power in 1999, Venezuela's leftist anti-U.S. government has introduced a series of ill-conceived, anti-capitalist measures, seizing the assets of foreign companies and imposing economic controls. Now, foreign businesses have left, and the economy has become grossly distorted, with oil accounting for over 95% of exports. To the rescue. With hopes for self-recovery fading, the country's last resort is to bank on China and Russia. China, believed to be Venezuela's largest creditor, has been cozying up to the country in hopes of gaining access to its natural resources through loans and investments. Russia has been helping as a way to dilute U.S. global dominance and gain new friends in a region where Moscow's footprint has been noticeably absent. After fears of default emerged recently, Russia was among the first to declare support. When Venezuelan issues were brought before the UN Security Council, both Russia and China expressed a reluctance to take part in discussions as a show of solidarity with Maduro. Yet skeptics are uncertain if the two allies will continue providing the support needed to keep Venezuela afloat. Alejandro Grisanti of Eco-Analytica, a Venezuelan think tank, said neither China nor Russia would increase the loans to Venezuela. China is reckoned to have extended about $20 billion to Venezuela, and Russia about $3 billion. The combined sum is far smaller than the debt issued by PDVSA alone. Also, given the gloomy prospect for a recovery in oil prices anytime soon, both countries may think twice about loaning more money for fear of never getting it back.